lives in culture. And we're not just talking about ethnic culture. It can be skateboard culture, bike culture, hiking culture, dog culture. Everything is built in culture. So when you start to understand that that's where the power is of brand affinity, that's how choices are made. It's how we see the world, it's how we identify the world, it's how we call it BS in the world. The reality is Digiday has its own culture, of its audience and following, its editorial. But you have to understand the rules of engagement. And if the rules of engagement say things are built in culture, then you start to identify, well, what segment of the populace is leading in culture around these factions. And I think when you start to talk about multicultural marketing is the wrong term, you start to look at, well, who are the change makers, who are the innovators, who are people who are crushed in the flesh? And yes, in many instances, in a lot of verticals, it is people of color, in particular Black people. That's the epicenter, it's where you start. Look, it will move out. The reason why hip hop is so big and is worth so much money is white America. There are not enough Black people on the planet. Facts, okay? I've been to plenty of Wu-Tang concerts, half the audience is white. It's amazing. When you start to look at that, where it's come from some dark hole in New York City, there's 50 Black people to these mega tours and residencies. I mean, we're not delusional. We understand that the power and support of the entire populace and the entire spectrum of cultures is what makes all these things go. Part of it is that the diversity of thought is what makes product better. It's why beauty has gotten better, why makeup has gotten better, it's why cars have gotten better, because we got all these diverse people who got different needs, different expectations, want different facets, different attributes, and someone's saying, all right, let's make an amalgamation and let's make the dopest thing we possibly can, and the spectrum has so many options. That's the idea, but in that is the culture that is driving that. And what we're talking about is there's a power on unlocking it when you know what you're doing, and there's a lot of people who get into the sandbox who have no idea. They're just there for the money, which means they're there for the short sale, whilst we are trying to build this for the long term, for the next generation, to set the pace and tone of, again, what I say, what it should look like. And I think what people need to understand is if everything lives in culture, there's an amalgamation of a lot of us there. And I think you start to pull the levers around who are the influencer segments within to help move and accelerate brand and opportunity. But when you look at the underinvestment and the exclusionary practice, you just do a disservice. And when I look at media companies and agencies doing it, it's like, you're just messing it up for the customer and the brand. Like, you're here to serve as agency, decisioning, as a facilitator, but you aren't necessarily necessary. If we could all build brands like Louis Vuitton, I don't know if any of us are here because we just all want it. I haven't seen a Louis Vuitton spot in my entire life.
Right. That's a really good point. But you